Hello, my name is Mikhail, and today I want to talk about a question that comes up very often when we discuss artificial intelligence, and that is, can artificial neural networks achieve consciousness? Um, so modern AI systems are very advanced and they demonstrate some impressive abilities. They can solve problems, generate language, and adapt to new inputs. Because of this, some people might assume that intelligence naturally leads to consciousness. And my main argument here today is that this assumption is mistaken. Intelligence and consciousness are fundamentally different things, and while AI systems clearly exhibit intelligence, there is currently no evidence that they possess consciousness. To make this argument clear, I first need to explain what I mean by intelligence. So, what is intelligence? Intelligence is the ability to achieve goals in complex environments. It was defined this way by Herbert Simons. So, this definition focuses on function rather than experience. Um, Intelligence involves things like inference, learning, and generating new responses in order to solve problems. Under this definition, intelligence applies very broadly. It can be applied to animals, it can be applied to humans, and AI systems themselves. Mm, And as you might have noticed, nothing in this definition requires emotion, self-awareness, or subjective experience. So intelligence is really about what a system can do, not what it feels like to be that system. But intelligence alone doesn't tell us whether a system is conscious. And as for the consciousness, consciousness is defined in a very different way. From a philosophical perspective, Thomas Nagel famously argued that a system is conscious if there is something it is like to be that system. Consciousness is not about behavior or performance, but about subjective experience, having a first person point of view. And from neuroscience perspective, Antonio Damasio emphasizes that consciousness is grounded in lived experience, bodily states, and feelings. For him, consciousness arises from integration of perception, emotion, and self-related bodily regulation. In other words, consciousness is deeply tied to having a body, maintaining internal states, and experiencing changes as meaningful to the organism itself. Taken together, these perspectives show that consciousness is experiential, embodied, and self-related, and it's not computational. Um, why intelligence is not consciousness? Well, once we separate these two concepts, an important difference becomes much clearer. A simple comparison helps illustrate this. Dogs, for example, are widely regarded as conscious. They feel pain, fear, pleasure, and comfort. They have rich subjective experience. At the same time, their abstract reasoning abilities are quite limited. And language models show almost the opposite pattern. They can perform complex reasoning tasks, generate explanations, and solve abstract problems. But there's no evidence that they experience anything at all. And this shows that intelligence and consciousness can come apart. One exists without the other. Um, at this point, I want to introduce a thought experiment. Suppose humans themselves were part of a simulation. Even if this were true, our conscious experience would still be real. we would still feel emotions, experience bodily states, and perceive the world from a first person perspective. Subjective experience doesn't disappear simply because underlying mechanism might be computational. Um, this matters because it shows that the real question is not whether consciousness is implemented computationally, but whether experience exists at all. Consciousness is defined by experience, not by the material or computational substrate. So why AI output is not conscious experience? AI systems can describe emotions, bodily states, and first-person perspectives with remarkable fluency. But this doesn't mean they actually experience all these things. These outputs arise from distributed feature-based statistical inference, not because it has underlying subjective experience. Neural networks learn patterns in language data and generate responses by predicting what is likely to come next in a given context. There's no evidence that these systems feel emotions, experience bodily states, or possess a point of view. So what AI does is imitate the structure of conscious language without instantiating conscious experience itself. This difference becomes even clearer when we look at autonomy. So here, I thought it's important to distinguish between two different types of autonomy. Humans and animals, as you know, are autonomous systems, and they initiate actions, regulate their internal states, and pursue goals that matter to them. Their behavior is guided by internal needs, emotions, and survival-related motivations, survival instincts. And crucially, these goals are owned by the organism itself. AI systems, by contrast, exhibit only a limited form of functional autonomy. They can learn from data, improve performance, and adapt to new tasks. In that sense, AI can appear autonomous at the level of intelligence. But this autonomy doesn't extend to consciousness. AI system doesn't generate intrinsic goals, regulate themselves as living systems, or maintain a persistent sense of self over time. Their goals, inputs, and operational boundaries are defined externally by humans. This distinction matters because consciousness appears to require more than learning or problem solving. It requires self-regulation, ownership of goals, and a live first-person perspective. Without these properties, what we see in AI is intelligent behavior, not conscious experience. And once we defined what consciousness is and what intelligence is, let's talk about whether AI will ever become conscious. So far, I've argued that current AI systems are not conscious. But could artificial neural networks ever achieve consciousness in principle? This cannot be ruled out completely. However, consciousness would likely require properties such as autonomous goal formation, self-regulation, and lived experience, all of which present neural networks lack. And for now, AI consciousness remains theoretical and speculative. And as for the implications of uncautious but intelligent language models, we know that AI systems do not form intrinsic goals or autonomous selves. As a result, Risks associated with the AI arise from human use, design, and governance, not from conscious intention or desire on the part of AI systems themselves. To conclude, intelligence and consciousness are distinct capacities. Current AI systems clearly exhibit intelligence, but there's no evidence that they possess subjective experience. Apparent emotions or selfhood in AI arise from feature-based statistical inference, not from lived experience. Until systems demonstrate genuine autonomy and a first-person perspective, artificial neural networks cannot be said to achieve any level of consciousness. And that is it for my presentation. Thank you for listening.